So you can come to the standing position at the front of the mat and just having the palms facing upwards and just starting to allow the breath to move into and out of the body. And you might even like to bring one hand onto the chest and just focus on lifting through the chest. And as you do that, feel the spine starting to elongate, imagining a cord at the crown of the head and that you're drawing upwards. I've just realized we might need some lighting. And allowing the breath to start to wash through the body. And as you elongate through the spine, you can imagine the beautiful blue sky, such the entirety of the blue sky through the spinal column, through that channel. And just feel like you're rising up, and in this way you're defying that almost like the fear response of curling into the fetal position, and just be here open and full and expansive and settling into that. And we'll take a few more breaths here, just solidifying and harmonizing together. So inhaling and lengthening the breath out now. And even finding a slight pause. And an exhale as you exhale, feel a letting go through the whole of the body. And another unifying inhale. And as you exhale, again, letting go, maybe letting go through the tail of the spine now. And one last breath together, inhaling. Feel that lift through the chest, but the breath is still down into the belly. And then you can join the hands together at Namaste and take an inhale, sweeping the arms out and up. And best to have the feet hip-width apart here to give yourself stability. And let's exhale off to the right. So leaning right and creating some space through the side channel of the body. Inhale up through center and exhaling over to the left. Just gentle, easy movements. Sunday morning, like a Sunday morning drive. Inhale, reaching up, and as you exhale, reach around and point the fingers up the back, and rather than pressing the hips forward, keep the thigh bones moving back and just lift up through the chest. So you've got this fountain bursting up through the chest. And then you can exhale and fold yourself forward and down. Inhale to lift and lengthen halfway up, and then bending the knees, plant the hands, just stepping yourself back into downward facing dog. And in downward facing dog, if you're able to, take hold of the edges of the mat and like you're ripping the mat apart, just stretch the mat forward, have the knees bent for now, and really focus on link through the spine. Remember that entirety of the blue sky in the spine, letting the head hang and the frontal lobe become quiet. Focus on that length through your inhalation, lifting the sit bones higher, reaching the arms forward. And then you can replace the hands back onto the earth and get that same sort of feeling, lengthening, extending, and opening. And then exhaling the knees down onto the floor. So if you've just joined us, we'll be spending a bit of time here. You could pad under the knees if you need to, or go into a cross legs position. So inhale the arms up and exhale over to the left side. Opening the right channel, inhale up through center and exhaling to the other side. inhale back up through center, and like we did standing, just take the hands down behind you and focus on this fountain lifting and bursting up through the chest. Take care of the neck, just look forward if you need to, or if you can, looking up, lifting up, creating that openness and space. And then reaching the hands forward, you can press yourself into downward facing dog, again with that same feeling of, that familiar feeling of opening through the front of the body, and then grounding one heel at a time, starting to welcome and invite space into the calves, the thighs, the hamstrings. And inhale, stretching the right leg to the sky. And exhale, just one tiger curl, nice and slow. And even with that pause at the end of the exhalation, the end of the inhalation, just brings this leisurely nature to the movement. Like that Sunday drive. Step the foot forward to the space between the hands. Inhale and stretching the arms up. And then as you exhale, rocking back and stretching out through that right hamstring. Then start walking the hands forward. So you've got that same downward dog type feeling of lengthening through the front of the body. And then working back and forth like this. So keep the hands there. Inhale forward into your lunge. And exhaling, rocking back. So maybe even bending the knee if you need to, but have this feeling of length and opening through the front, defying that desire to collapse in. One last time, rocking back. And then making your way forward and walk both hands to the inside, straighten up through the back leg. So this pose is a bit of a hybrid. So think north to south lunge through the front body, but then walk the hands off to the side and come into this, it's like a down dog through the upper body, but the lower body is doing a lunge. So that same power pressing through the arms to create the length in the spine in between each and every vertebrae. Imagine the sky-like spaciousness there. Invite it in a kind way. And then let's come back to center and dropping the back knee down, rocking back again. This time you might like to have the block again if you're blessed with the strong hamstrings like me. So this time inhaling your right arm open to the sky, opening and twisting, and just let that hip lift up a little. Just notice how it wants to lift, and exhale and lowering the hand down. And inhale, lift again. Notice how the hip wants to lift, but dropping that right hip down, drop the right hip down, and again that invitation to create space there. And then exhaling the hand down, and one last time. This time keep the right hip dropping down as you lift, and again just that wonderful possibility of opening, possibility of space, and through the side waist now. And then releasing and touching down. You can pop the block off to the side and come forward, straightening through the back leg. And again, this time just going out into an easy twist, but maybe taking the hand off the mat and even arching back a little. So finding like a baby back bend, baby cobra through the spine. Then you can take the hand down, drop the back knee down again, stretch it back and into an easy, so you've got your left knee down and going into an easy side plank. So rather than being straight, think more like a banana. So through that whole right river of the body, you're getting length and opening out, and reach through the top hand like you're trying to get an Easter egg, but you just can't quite reach. And then release, and coming back around. You can bring the knees together and press back into your downward facing dog. Dissolving that, inhale, come forward through a full or a half plank, and then lowering down. Rise up into your Shalabhasana with the palms facing down. So as the palms press into imaginary basketballs, feel the upper back work, and again that front body opening. You can then touch the hands down. Let's actually do Sphinx Pose and pause here for a moment, lifting through the belly, send the chest forward. Again, rather than the back bend, just think length. How can I get more? So like your warm toffee, and you're just being stretched from the toes to the chest and creating that space, possibility. And then lowering, you can rise up through your hands and knees and back into downward facing dog. And again, just reawakening that feeling of opening through the front of the body. Not that you want to dip into a back bend, but send the pubic bone up to the sky, reach the hands away from you, and welcome that opening. And then from here, you can stretch the left leg to the sky, and we'll take one tiger curl, knee into the chest. Inhale, slowly up and back. And again, those little pauses in between the breaths could be a good idea too. All right, so inhale into your crescent. And then exhaling and rocking back. Some padding under the knee could be a good idea. So then stay down and just reach the hands forward. I like to be on fingertips here, but that's entirely up to you. Fingertips just gives you a little bit more space to create the length. So even thinking little cobra, that same stretching of the chest forward and moving back and forward like this. So inhale forward. Keep the hands forward. Think about that length through the spine. So that left leg may or may not straighten, and that's totally okay. We want to make the opening of the hamstrings secondary to looking after the back. So making sure that the lower back is supported at this time. Great. Okay, then come forward again. Lift the back knee, walk the hands around, and come into this hybrid position again. So you've got the north-south. It's kind of like a pat your head, rub your tummy. You've got the north-south position through the legs, and they're dynamically reaching, creating that space again. And then walking the hands off to the corner to create the same sort of down dog feeling, particularly through the front of the body. Notice with the breath, maybe a tiny little pause at the exhalation. Pause at the inhalation. They're naturally occurring. Okay, coming back, drop the back knee down. And then rocking back. This time, you've got your left leg straight, and I've got the hand on the block. You don't have to. You could use a jar, you could use a very thick novel, and then inhaling your left arm up to the sky. So just notice how that left hip wants to lift, and that's okay for now. You can continue to let the left hip lift as you inhale and lift now, but then drop the left hip down as you hold here, keeping the left toes active and drawing the heel up towards the hip, and then exhaling and lowering down. Inhale and sending that arm up again, but focusing on dropping the hip down as you lift, and keeping that extension, keeping that spaciousness. And then releasing and lowering down. Take yourself forward, straighten through the back leg now, and stretch the left arm to the sky, but this time take the right hand yes, right hand off to the side. I'm mirroring, so that's tricky. Opening out through the spine, creating that openness from pubic bone to heart, and then heart buoyant as it lifts. And then exhaling and lowering down. You can drop the back knee down, and then we pivot over to this side plank position. But rather than it being like a straight position, think about it more like a banana, so that whole top river of the side body is opening and flowing freely, unobstructed. And then release and touch the hands down. Stretch back into your downward facing. Inhale forward into your plank and lowering yourself down. Rise up into your Shalabhasana again. So when we strengthen the back body like this, it's going to be easier to open through the front of the body. And then touch the hands down, touch the feet to the floor. And then lift through the chest, but then think about it moving forward. So again, you've got that warm toffee stretching through the whole of the front body. And releasing down, you can rise up through your full or a half push-up and back to downward facing. And again, lowering the knees to the floor, sitting back onto the heels. And this is where you could do the cross legs if you want to. Inhale to float the arms up. Exhale, hand over to the left side, and then fold the right hand over as well. So you're into that twisted child's pose. Again, opening out through the side ribs there. Inhale and come back up through the side bend. Come all the way up through center, and exhale over to the other side. And then again, and into that forward fold or the twisted child's pose. And imagine your ribs like a slinky opening out. And then inhale back through center and coming on up. You can then release the hands and either come behind like this, or if you wanted to, rise up towards a Ustrasana position. And exhaling to lower down. Take the hands either side of the foot or the knees and come up through a Uttanasana. Straightening the legs up, nodding the head, yes, and just decompress the spine here. So bend the knees quite generously, but take a hold of the head and imagine that you're getting an adjustment by a very skilled masseuse or practitioner of your choice, and they're just giving you that feeling of length and traction through the spine, creating that spaciousness. And the more you let go with gravity, the more you'll receive that opening. You can then inhale and make your way up and come up through a spinal roll all the way up, reaching the palms to touch overhead, and exhale the hands down through Namaste. Just pause again, palms facing up, and feeling the difference. Again, that experience of space. We all know that solid matter is 99.999% empty space. So tapping into that feeling of spaciousness within. And that all of that contraction and compression is starting to be a distant memory. How wonderful. How wonderful. Inhale and sweeping the arms out and up. Bring the palms to touch. Exhale the hands down through Namaste. So let's inhale the arms up and lift the right knee up to the chest. And then keep the arms up, and if you're able to, open the leg out and placing the foot for tree pose. So yes, if you need to, you can reposition, get a feeling of hugging in, and as the arms reach up, you're getting this experience of space through the spine. And then going into that side bend, like we have done. So right hand onto the right knee and leaning over to the right. And inhaling back up through center and over to the other side. If it's too tricky with your balance, no problem. coming up and then crossing the right leg over, and have the left elbow on top as we come into Garudasana, sinking down. And even in this compression, can you feel an expansion? So even though we're condensing into a small shape, can you feel elegant, long, spacious, and maybe even a glimmer of being free? And you'll experience that even more as you inhale and lift and liberate yourself and stepping forward. So again, a block could be helpful here. Inhaling. So we're in a short stance and hip width apart. Inhale to sweep the arms up, and exhale into your forward fold. So you could have the hands on the block here, or hands either side of the foot, and doing that same sort of movement. So don't worry too much about the back leg. Inhale forward, and exhale, focus on the length through the spine as you rock back. So maybe walking the hands forward or having the block forward. Inhaling forward, and exhaling, opening through the front of the spine. Just this constant invitation to expand. So let's then hold the pyramid position and moving towards your revolve triangle. With your, you could take your right hand onto your outer right hip like this, and encouraging it back as you stretch the right arm up. Again, don't worry too much about the back leg, more about the feeling of expansion, particularly from outer right hip to right fingertips, and leaning back a little as you open into that. And then stretching the top arm over, you can plant the hands down, one hand either side of the foot, go longer into your lunge, and then flipping over and into the side plank position. Feel free to, again, have the knee on the floor. And then go into that banana shape by pressing into the left hand and really opening out through the right side body. You can then release over through a high plank or a low plank. Feel free to rest into child's pose or take a connecting vinyasa if you wanted to. Of your plank to chaturanga, to up dog or cobra, and into down dog. And then let's all come back into this Vajrasana position again, inhaling and sweeping the arms up. Exhale over to the left side and bring that right hand right out, so reaching it way off in the distance. And then use, so we're going to be here a little while, use the left hand, press the left hand into the earth to open through the right side gills and breathe into those gills. Again, just that wonderful, compassionate opening. Remembering the spaciousness that you inherently are. It's so easy to contract onto thoughts and ideas and news reports right now, but this openness is always here. Simply a matter of choice, choosing to be aware of that. So let's come back through our side bend and reaching back up. Oh, side bends. I just love them. I'm like a cat on a scratchy pole. So pressing right hand into the earth now, and as you do that, you'll shorten through the right side waist, and or like a piano accordion, opening out through the left side ribs and breathing into that. Let the head hang, find a softness, separating the teeth, space between the teeth, maybe space between the breaths. And then return back through your side bend and coming up, palms touch. Exhale the hands down behind you, and again, either holding here or if you wanted to, rising into a full Ustrasana. But again, think of that fountain bursting through the chest, this warm toffee just stretching. What about like gooey caramel from your Easter eggs? Okay, then releasing down. Use the hands for support, either side of the knees. Again, hang in your Uttanasana. But this time, let's go more with a sideways movement. So take the right hand to the left outer ankle and then folding in there. Again, just tapping into all these different pathways and rivers of energy in our body, and then switching to the other side. And awakening the river alongside the spine. And come back through center and coming on up through a spinal roll or a reverse swan dive. Inhale all the way up, bring the palms to touch, and exhale the hands down through Namaste. Again, just this wonderful recognition of all the space, all the opening. And then sweeping the arms around, inhale and reach up. Exhale, draw the hands down through the heart center, nestling into Namaste. Inhale, lifting the left leg up now, and stay lifted through the arms. Keep reaching through the arms like a tree does as you then place the foot to the inner thigh. So like the tree or a sunflower, reaching for the sunlight, reaching for that nourishment. And then turn it into the side bend if you're able to. So over to the left side first, keeping a bit of tone through the core and zipped up through the legs. Inhale back to center and over to the other side. Inhaling back up through center, crossing the left leg over and the right arm is on top. And if you get them mixed up, no problem, it's just a yoga pose. But again, we deliberately go into this contraction and then choose to feel freedom, choose to feel openness. This is truly one of the gifts of yoga, that we have that power of choice. And then releasing, inhale and lift, stepping forward. So you're in that short stance and with both feet facing forward. You can then fold yourself forward, maybe with the block, maybe not. But remember, our hands are probably forward of the foot. So inhale and rocking forward. This is not so much part of the pose. This is the rocking back movement, is where I want you to experience that expansion. Inhaling to come forward. The kookaburras are laughing at us. I laugh at myself sometimes too. It's important. So this time with your rocking back, send the hips back. Think of downward dog shape through your spine. And then take your block or not and floating the left arm open to the sky. But taking that left hand onto the left hip and sending it back as you open the arm up to feel that lengthening from outer left hip up to the left fingertips. Add in a tiny baby cobra, not so much with the head, more through the upper back opening. Good, and then releasing and lowering down. You can walk the foot forward or back foot back as we come into a side plank position. All the birds have come out. So again, I say it quite a bit. This probably won't make the cover of Yoga Journal. Reach the top arm over and think more like a banana shape. So strong pressure through that right hand, cinch through the right side waist, and love that opening through the left side body. And then releasing and touching down. Either child's pose or coming through your connecting vinyasa of choice. And then pausing into child's pose now, however that looks for you. And if child's pose doesn't work, then just doing a legs crossed position is totally fine as well. Start to notice these little pauses in between the breaths again. The inhale, maybe be deliberate about a little pause there. The exhale, and as long as it doesn't create any anxiety in you, again, a little pause. Let's take one more round like that, a long, luscious inhale. Slight pause, like the ball that's been thrown up in the air, and then as you exhale, it descends back down. And then a slight pause. Welcoming this spaciousness in. You can then come forward, plant the hands onto the earth. Take a couple of pulsing breaths. Inhale to open through the front of the body. And exhaling, rounding. Inhale to open. And exhaling, round. Then inhaling your right arm open to the sky. Like we have been doing from outer right hip to fingertips, create that length, and then exhale and thread it through. And twice more like that with your breath. Inhale to twist and open. And the little pauses. Exhale to twist through. And one last time. But we're not actually going to hold the twist. As you come through this time, just stay more chest straight on to the floor and send that left arm forward. You could rest the forehead down onto the earth or onto a block. And again, I like to be up on left fingertips to have that sense of lifting and lengthening through the left side body as you're softening and melting into the right shoulder. And then thread the arm through and just for a moment wrap around into the twist, sending the left arm back around and twisting. Release the left arm, plant the hand, and inhale to twist and open once again. Then sending the arm forward, stretch into that Anahatasana position. So ways that you could intensify it if you wanted to would be elbows onto the earth and even elbows onto the block as well. Can work quite well. But here the thighs are vertical, so I see it quite a bit in classes is that people are back more. So just check that your hips are directly over your knees so that you can invite that opening in, breath by breath. And then coming on up and pressing back into downward facing dog to release the legs. Take the right foot to the center of the mat and take your left toes and give yourself an adjustment of some toga. So take your big toe to one side and second toe to the other side and encourage the heel down. Stay strong through the arms as we have done. And switching to the other side. So using the webbing of your toes against the back of the heel to press down. And then coming back through center, melting the knees onto the earth. And into this kneeling position, inhale to lift and exhale to take the hands around as we did when we were standing and arching back again. But not by pressing the hips forward, just stay steady through there, but just think of this fountain bursting, lifting through, smiling at how good that space feels. And then you can fold forward, and again, let's inhale your left arm up, stretching the arm up, and exhale to thread it through. And one more of these, flowing with the breath. And then with this last one, our hold is more chest to the earth and sending that right arm forward. So rather than twisting, your arm is straight across the chest and the chest is facing the floor. Again, maybe being on right fingertips so that you can get that sense of settling. And then threading through at the last and wrapping around. Using your breath, little exhales, little pauses. And then releasing the arm up and coming back around through center. You can cross the legs around, roll over the ankles if you're able to, or whatever works, coming into a seated position. So I'd just like to guide you through a pranayama practice. So it's the alternate nostril breathing, and if that doesn't work for you, you can just do imaginary alternate nostril breathing. So we'll take the dominant hand up onto the face, the index finger, middle finger onto the face, and inhaling through both nostrils. As you exhale, breathe out through the left, blocking off the right nostril. Inhale through the left, up to the third eye point, and exhaling through the right. Inhale right, and exhaling through the left. So now adding in little pauses if you can. You don't want to do this if it creates a feeling of anxiousness, but if you're able to, just slight pauses. So inhale left and a little pause at the third eye point. Exhale right. Again, a little pause. Inhale right, up to the third eye point, just suspended for a moment, and exhaling left. If it feels okay, one more round, inhaling. And exhale. Once you've exhaled out through the left nostril, then just pausing with the hands down. These little pauses, tiny little gaps that are like zip files that open out into infinite expanse. So you can take this quietness down now onto your back, and not quite at Shavasana yet, but Just connecting into a little flow, opening the arms out. And again, just that allowing the pauses to extend if it feels good for you. So we'll inhale the knees into the chest and exhale off to the right into a twist. Inhale back up to center and exhaling to the left. Inhale back up through center and then exhale the feet down onto the earth. Inhale to rise up into a bridge pose and exhaling smoothly back down. So connecting to your breath. That's the essence of vinyasa. Inhale, knees to the chest. Exhale, right. So it's the essence of vinyasa, but here we're looking to just add another dimension. Add those precious pauses. The little gaps. So yes, as you are aware, there's thoughts and things in the foreground, but there's also a precious awareness in the background, like the sky-like mind. So one more round, over to the right, and then to the left, and then bridge pose in your own time. So we can create space in our body and start to notice the untangling of thoughts in the mind as well. Last bridge pose, you may like to hold, or if you have a block, you could even come into a restorative bridge position to hold for a moment. And again, just this possibility to pause in the stillness. You can find yourself a comfortable position for Shavasana. It may be that you stay in bridge pose. You could take legs up the wall. You could pop a bolster underneath your knees or thighs. And scan through the body from the top of the head to the tips of the toes. In the same way that we untangle headphones or corded headphones, that you just need to create the space so that you can unravel. And feel how this practice has done exactly that. Created some space to allow all that tension and tightness to unravel. And notice what remains. Hopefully, a sense of ease, peace washing through the body. Maybe it's a relief. I don't know what it is for you, but you do, so go into that now. experience it fully in this vast openness of being. Like the starry night sky, there may be things in the foreground, but also in the background. Take note of everything. Embrace it all. This awareness of yours includes and contains all things. Now that you've created this spacious ease in your body, know that nature abhors a vacuum. So if you don't consciously fill this space with what you want, then it will be filled by default. So choose right now, what is it that you want? How do you want to feel right now? And bring that in with a smile, with soft hands and an open heart. Feel your body's capacity to hold this positivity within you increased. It's that much easier. So rather than this being an empty space, feel it full, scintillating, vibrating with all the goodness that you want and all the goodness that you already have. Like a delicious soup bubbling away with so many flavors all coming together. Cooked to perfection. Become aware of your effortless flow of the breath and notice how spontaneously these pauses may have extended. With a deep rest, you could start to awaken a longer breath. Awaken your body as you see fit and rolling to the side. When you're ready to come on up and seal this practice together. As you take a chosen seated position, just notice the length, how tall you're feeling. As you lift through the crown a little more and lift through the chest once more, as the thumbs nestle into the chest, the breastbone rises And as you sit in your fullness, stand in your fullness, let us send our blessings out. May all beings be at peace and be happy, and may all beings be free from suffering. Thank you for your practice today. Namaste. Namaste.